Hey listeners, this episode is brought to you by EF World Journeys. Today's travelers want more from their vacation. That's why more people are turning to travel professionals to help them explore the world with confidence. For nearly 35 years, EF World Journeys has been the go-to guided experiential travel company for leisure travelers who want to learn more about people, places, and cultures around the world. Its brands EF Ultimate Break, EF Go Ahead Tours, and EF Adventures serve everyone from Gen Z to baby boomers and help tens of thousands of US and Canadian travelers every year explore 400 bucket list destinations. EF World Journeys is one of North America's biggest guided group tour companies, and its expert planned immersive itineraries focus on the big moments and little things that make travel and meeting new people so rewarding. It's experiential travel that goes deeper, where every journey builds a connection, inspires wellness, and fuels a lifelong love of learning. EF World Journeys, guided by experts, driven by curiosity. To learn more, go to efworldjourneys.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Skift Travel Podcast. I'm here with Seth Borko. Seth, how are you?
I'm great, Sarah. How you doing?
Good. I am back in my original time zone, both like physically, mentally, and emotionally now.
Emotionally is the hardest part of it.
Yeah, since all those three things have like actually been, for any of our listeners who are out there, I've probably seen you or talked to you in the last, I don't know, month or so, because I've just been all over the world doing all sorts of fun stuff.
And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about on this episode is you're back from Saudi Arabia, which is, of course, like the talk of the tourism world. Before we get into that, Sarah, I want to let you know that we're obviously all mostly audio listeners, but I've brought a prop to this episode, a cup of coffee, a pumpkin spice latte, if we're being honest. Because we had a bet of coffee on the government shutdown. And I think, Sarah, you made a bold bet that it would not be lifted before the Thanksgiving holiday. You came very close. You came very close to being right. But I think fortunately for us all and for my coffee that the government's reopened.
Seth has been planning out like what expensive accoutrements, what type of like full fat, like massage
oat milk,
cow, milk with the oats grown in the in Buckingham Palace or something. Yeah. So I lost that one. Do you have a bet? I know we usually do this at the end.
Yeah, you should have a chance to win back a coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
We did. What was the bet that we were discussing it? Let me just a little behind the scenes, but let me check my show notes. We do have some.
We do that. We actually do.
Barely, but we do. Oh. It was a controversial one, and it was tied to the news.
So should we do it at the end?
This is a controversial bet tied to the Epstein case and the Epstein files.
Right. These were the show notes that we never locked down to be final.
Yeah, that we never locked down to be final. How many travel executives will show up in the Epstein records? I'm going to give you an over-under. I'll put out a number of two travel people on the Epstein list. You can take the over and under, and if you win, I will buy you a coffee. How's that for a bet?
All right. So I'm actually not a gambler at all. I don't know what over under means. I mean, I've heard the term.
If it's two or more, then you win on the over. And if it's like two or less, then you would win on the under.
I'm gonna go with more.
Over. Okay. So if it's two or more, we've got you assign the journalists to it. When these files come out, we're going to go through them, see if there's any travel industry people in there. And if there's two or more people related to travel, I'm going to buy you a coffee. That's the bet.
There you go. Yeah. See, and like, I like mine black or not. I mean, just regular drip with like some half and half. So I'm going to have to like come up with something far better than that. Because I think I'm probably right on this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You make it as good as you want. Large, venti, whatever. We'll do it. Okay. Let's get into the meat of this episode. We're doing a number of the week for this episode. The number of this week is 116 million. 116 million is the total number of tourists that visited and traveled within and to Saudi Arabia in the year 2024. So that's your number of the week. That's your preview of the topic of the week, which is Saudi Arabia. But before we get deeper into this Saudi Arabia topic, we're going to discuss some news. Sarah, what was your favorite? Did you have a favorite news item that we published from this week?
I mean, yeah, I wrote it. I mean, but it's about our topic of the week. It's about MBS being in DC. And that really kind of, I mean, it may be because I just got back from Saudi. It may be, it's just it was like there were three things. And I'll talk a little bit about Darren, our climate reporter, being down in Brazil right now at COP30 too. But I would just say, like, the Saudis have just been out in force this fall. So there was the UN tourism event was in Riyadh, the Tourise event, which was their inaugural kind of like hello world, like tourism is here event for industry professionals. So I was there. And then, I come home, MBS is, getting the royal treatment in Washington. And then Darren, who is our climate reporter, he's down in Brazil reporting there. And he just said the Saudi presence in Brazil is unlike anybody else's. And that at this point, is not surprising to me, because from what I have seen in the last few weeks about how Saudi Arabia is attacking their kind of public relations, they're kind of they are throwing everything at everything they're doing right now. Like nothing is measured, nothing is nuanced. It is everything everywhere all at once.
Pedal to the metal. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I love it. We're going to jump into the Saudi topic. I will say mine is, my favorite article was on Google. This was from Adriana Lee, who's our new reporter based out in San Francisco, about how Google is building agentic travel booking, and Google is working on basically an AI mode. She writes, the ambition is to turn AI mode into a travel hub that can plan trips and help users complete them. I think this is really exciting.
Expedia got crushed on that.
Well,
that day, and I mean in the market.
This is a huge. I mean, this is a whole episode in and of itself, and we can maybe even have some guests on from Expedia. But this is a huge deal. Google already effectively owns the top of the funnel. They have challengers from these AI tools to own the top of the funnel. We've talked a lot about that. But if they build the AI tools, then Google continues to own the top of the funnel. And if these agents can complete these bookings directly with hotel partners, and Adriana reports that Google is working with Booking, Choice, Expedia, IHG, Marriott, and Wyndham, though she caveats the project's at an early stage. If Google can execute these AI agent transactions, it's transformative, and it could potentially cut out the middleman, which is the OTA. Or maybe it doesn't cut out the middleman, but in my opinion, an OTA's value has two pieces to it. There's the infrastructure value and there's the brand value. So part of it is just the value of the infrastructure that Expedia and Booking and Trip and whoever can bring, because they have so much connectivity, so many thousands, tens of thousands, millions of hotels or whatever. And some of it is that customers go to Expedia first. Customers go to Booking first. Customers think that they'll get a good deal on Expedia or Booking. So those are the two values that an OTA brings to the marketplace. If you don't need to book with an OTA, they lose. I don't know what percentage of the total value of the business is the consumer brand. There's some value in the infrastructure. There's some value in the brand. And that brand value is under potentially threat. We'll see. On the other hand, I spoke to Booking.com on stage at Skift Global Forum East, their head of fintech, Daniel, and he said that why would an AI player like Google want to be involved in travel payments and bookings? And, Google has
they
had
can make
the
money.
chance. They can make money. They can get Sure, fair enough. Good answer. What can I say to that?
Yeah. Capitalism.
Right, fair enough. Yeah. His point was that they would get regulated for doing it, that it's a lot of work for not as much money. But hey, your answer is a great one too, Sarah. They could make some money. And anyways, it's a fascinating battleground. I loved that Adriana wrote this article on it. It was really interesting news, really exciting news. So between that and Saudi, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. I just, I'm still a skeptic with the agents. I mean, I definitely think we'll get there. It's just, I still can't even, I mean, I know I'm conflating like the little bots that come up at the side, at the bottom of your AI bots. I know I'm conflating that with true agentic AI, but like those bots like do nothing. Like they can't do anything for me still.
Yeah, they're dumb.
They're dumb. And so it just seems like it's a very long way off, but I don't know. It's probably isn't. And it's going to just show up one day, just like ChatGPT did and, change everybody's lives. So,
well, to your point about, Expedia stock, which is down 11% in the past week, almost exclusively, in large part on this news, not to get too finance bro on us all, but like the value of a stock is the discounted value of future cash flows. So it's not that
was very broy.
Very, that's all. That's what they say in the West Village. They're always talking about discounted value of future cash flows. And so the point is not that necessarily that it's going to change the world tomorrow, but that if it impairs Expedia's ability to earn cash flows in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, that should be reflected in some way, in shape or form in the stock price today.
Yeah.
Anyways, just some thoughts. Let's talk about Saudi. This is our main topic of discussion. 116 million tourists in 2024. Huge presence at COP, huge presence at Tourise, huge presence really all across the world. Pedal to the metal push. Sarah, you were at Tourise. You were in Saudi Arabia. I've only been hearing about it. I've never been.
Yeah.
What was it like?
What was it like? It was my first real trip there as well. I'd been to the airport before, but which of course doesn't count at all. But this was my first time. It was really for somebody who's spent quite a bit of time in the Middle East. And when I say that, I mean Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Israel, Egypt, like those countries. It was really different.
Yeah. So it's not like it's different because it's the Middle East. It's different from the rest of the Middle East.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it was great. I must say, like, this is like, if you can finance bro, I can talk a little about clothes. So I totally fell in love with abayas, which is what Saudi women basically wear all the time. It's like a duster for all of the ladies who are a very long cardigan. Sometimes it opens at the front, sometimes it doesn't. It's almost like a coat, but like they are so beautiful. And so for somebody like me, who's always cold, so pretty, so functional. Because like, I don't think my family listens to the podcast. I bought them all.
Oh no.
Abayas and brought them home for Christmas.
Really?
So
is an abaya? Yeah. So this is a great test of them.
Okay,
this is a great test of the Copin family.
It's a great test. Yeah.
Wait, but it's not unisex. You bought it for the ladies in your family, or could a man? Okay. Yeah.
No. It's funny. I looked it up, that like all of the different, like what means what, because you can kind of tell like there's a certain uniform that you will see. But yeah, so this is just for the ladies. And yeah, I don't know. Like that was great. Like you talked about the Falcons in the UAE.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that the clothes, and I mean, it's just all so over the top. Like it's just like the consistent theme throughout. And I will say, I was flying on Etihad to the way there, and we had stopped in Abu Dhabi, and I got on the plane, and there was a woman sitting next to me. She was young, she's pretty, like, Gen Z, a girl. And so when she got off the plane, and, she had been wearing like, I don't know, like jeans and a sweatshirt. And when she got off the plane, she took this like pink silk abaya out of her bag and put it on. And I was like, I must have that, And so I went to the mall and I bought the like polyester version. But, it was like transformative garment.
And it's not like, I mean, for our listeners too, it's not like that was required of you. You just thought it was fun and fat, and it was just a great way to dress, right?
Yes. Yes. I mean, the like beauty of it is undeniable. But I will say that up until, I mean, I don't know if it was 2019, that's when Saudi opened up to the world, but women were required to wear abayas in Saudi. But I will say that most everybody did. that was there, especially I think if you live there. And, you know, I always feel like if I'm a guest in your house, like
That's right.
I'm going to, yeah. And very happy to do so, by the way.
I think that's a great travel philosophy. This is a sidebar from our conversation, but I think that is the philosophy, is that when you're traveling, you're a guest. And so like there's a lot of culture. That's the point of travel, is you see different cultures. You don't have to agree with it all, but you have to kind of respect it, at least while you're in their home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it didn't hurt that like there's nothing about it that I didn't like. Yeah, like nothing. So there was that. Let's see, what else can I tell you about Tourise? I mean, Tourise was, it was like part conference, part festival.
There was a performance, right? Was there a musical performance?
There was so many. I mean, there was a DJ there the whole time. It was more, I would say it was more festival than conference, although I'm sure the poor folks who put on as somebody who works in events, like that's nothing to, that's no dig on the programming team
it's a compliment.
At Tourise.
Yeah,
exactly. But it was just a whole lot of fun. There were just so many people there, so many people from the travel industry, so many different outfits and like branches of the industry who brought like interactive like games. And, you know, like I went into one, it's almost like, I want to say like trailers where they had, like it wasn't that hot there. It was, and I think it probably was this way because it's what you would normally see maybe out in the open on a trade floor. But in this case, it wasn't. They were in like kind of like fancy trailers that were all done up where you could, you know, shoot some golf. I did get a hole in one on the putt.
No way.
I did.
No way.
I did it. I did. I'm not a golfer.
Well, so you say. This is
So
your hustle for all the listeners of the podcast. I'm not a golfer, but come play me and let me watch me get a hole in one.
So it was kind of fabulous.
What was your biggest? What was the most? I don't know. Learnings. Something you learned. I don't know what the right word is. Most exciting or counterintuitive. What was something that you thought being there in person you really learned about the Saudi tourism that you weren't expecting?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I wasn't expecting it because I've interviewed the Saudi tourism minister a bunch of times now, both in Saudi Arabia in conjunction with the UN tourism event, which happened right before, and here in the United States. So how seriously they're taking this push, it wasn't a surprise. But again, I just can't emphasize enough how seeing them in action, really pulling out all the stops, made an impression on me as to how seriously they are taking this initiative to kind of change the perception of Saudi Arabia worldwide. And I do think that is, I would say that was probably the number one. I would think that's their number one challenge. And that's what they're going after. And I could see that happening.
And by the way, they have an uphill battle. You know, we started,
absolutely.
Well, after our little bed and coffee game, we started this podcast with that number, 116 million. That is the total number of tourists that Saudi Arabia reports. It's a huge number. It's an impressive number. But I think it does raise some eyebrows from industry watchers. And what are we if not industry watchers, Sarah? And if we dig into the numbers, I think it's worth pointing out that 116 million includes domestic tourism, domestic travel. And if we actually look at international, so inbound visitation, it's only, again, you're not watching this on video, but only with air quotes, 30 million inbound tourists. And then you have to remember that Saudi is one of the most central points in the world. It's a huge, Mecca, Medina is there. It's a huge site of religious significance. So they have a huge amount of pilgrims that visit and a huge amount of family travel. And so when you actually take out Umrah or Hajj, which are the pilgrim travels, you take out VFR, you take out business travel, you're actually only left with, this is by Saudi's own tourism numbers on their own tourism dashboard, about 7.5 million inbound leisure tourists. Now, of course, there are some small nations that would die for, 8 million tourists. But the point is that they have these huge goals, these huge ambitions, and they need the infrastructure for hundreds of millions. That's what they're building for. And they do receive hundreds of millions. But a huge portion of that is domestic, visiting friends and relatives, or pilgrimage. The actual core of what like an event like Tourise is about, which is like that global international jet setter, they're at 8 million. That's a good start. It's a great start, actually. But there is a very long hill to climb. You know, when we hear these numbers, oh, they're at 100 million. What more could they possibly want to do above and beyond 100 million? Well, there's actually quite a lot more that they want to do. Their ambitions are quite large, and they have that headroom for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, Saudi Arabia has had I think it's fair to say, a complicated relationship with the West. It has. Like, that is not, I don't think that's a controversial topic, in and of itself. And I think that, you think like even, I'm a white woman from the Midwest of the United States. And, when I told people that I was going to Saudi for business, there were quite a few eyebrows raised. Like that is something that is like, are you going to be safe? And, to which I kind of smiled. And I'm like, very much so. like it's hard to emphasize when you're a guest of the kingdom, just how safe you are. So, but I think that is something that's I think with Americans, and I mean, I don't want to speak for Europeans, but I think that's their big challenge is that Saudi Arabia is not seen as a leisure destination, that it's not something that naturally like comes to mind.
Well, I wouldn't, attribute that to some backwater, ill-minded American mindset either. It's not seen as a leisure destination because up until recently, you couldn't visit it as a leisure destination. They didn't have resorts for foreigners. Like, I think that's a piece of it too, is we're like, well, all right, you're going to a very large developed city in the invitation of the kingdom. Are you going to be safe? That's a little bit of an iffy, that's just a, maybe not misinformed, but that's just a different opinion. But be like, well, I wouldn't think of it as a leisure destination. Why would you? It hasn't been an option.
Because it hasn't been. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and I also just can't say enough about like the kind of the kindness and the warmth of the people of Saudi Arabia. Like even, just people that I met at the mall when I was buying the abayas, who when I was talking, oftentimes via Google Translate with, and because many of them, like much to your point, Seth, like they would ask me, again, via Google Translate sometimes, where are you from? And they were very surprised when I said I was American. Some of them would even say, I've never met an American in person before, which I thought was, well, yeah, I've never been to Saudi Arabia before. So, like it's kind of the same thing. So this is a place that's really just opening its doors.
If you'll allow me, and cut me off, Sarah, because I'll go to him, but if you'll allow me to wax philosophical for just a second.
Please do. Yes.
I think that is part of the magic of tourism. I think I said this at the Transatlantic, when we talked on the Transatlantic, we have just forgotten tourism's roots as just an important tool of diplomacy. I think that's so key. Because when you go to the same places, and I'm not trying to compare or contrast, but when you go to France and they've seen 1 million Americans, and you've met 1 million Frenchmen before on the subway in New York City commuting to, it's like, it's not quite the same thing. Whereas when you are the first American that someone meets in Saudi Arabia or vice versa, that changes perspectives in like a route.
Does.
And it's very hard to go back from that, right? Once they can say, I've met an American, it's no longer a TV show. It's no longer Friends. It's no longer whatever. It's Sarah Kopit who purchased an abaya for me. That's diplomacy and that's cultural change that is, I think, at the heart of why travel is important and also very hard to undo. And that's why countries like, I don't know, that have been like a North Korea would never allow mass tourism because it would just transform their culture. And it's bold of Saudi to embrace that change.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was probably my biggest takeaway, was the absolute like machine that they have turned on tourism.
How do you think it's shaping up? You went to some of these resort destinations, like they've built these new cities.
Yeah.
And be critical here. Be a consumer, a food critic, a destination critic. You visited these. Were they up to snuff?
So, yes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mean, they're also brand new, which, you know, when you go and stay in a new resort, like, it's better than an old resort, right?
That new resort smell is just, it's just something
exactly.
else.
So, but yeah, I mean, I went to Six Flags, which
And
is
that's in
a
Qiddiya,
brand new.
right?
Yeah, that's in Qiddiya. You know, we out in the desert. It's not open yet, but it's interesting. What, like, I've been to. I mean, I grew up, you know, 3 hours away from Cedar Point in Ohio. Like, I've been to Cedar Point. I've been to Six Flags. You know,
are you
here?
Are you a connoisseur of the wooden coasters of Cedar Point?
Oh, you know, I must say, I really hurt my back. Not to age myself, but I really hurt my back on the Cyclone in Coney Island. And so I'm kind of anti wooden roller coasters. But I mean, they let us go on the big roller coaster I think it's called the Rattler. I sat in the front. You hang upside down, like a direct drop. Yeah. So, but I mean, to be in a new amusement park, like a Six Flags, it's super nice. I mean, they're still building it. Somebody said, and I can't remember who it was, that Riyadh is a city of cranes. And that's exactly right. Is that everywhere you go, you see cranes. Hundreds, thousands maybe of cranes, because they're just building everything. So that was Qiddiya. And then I went to Diriyah Gate.
Which one's that?
Yeah. So that's the one that is kind of the classic old style architecture of Saudi Arabia's past. What they have open, there's a UNESCO heritage site there, but what they have open now is kind of like essentially a mall, like a walking mall, outdoor mall. But it was very interesting. Like, you talk about, like, is it up to snuff? Like, I get dropped off by my Uber at like the gate, and the first thing I saw was Sarah Beth, which for all of you New Yorkers is it's a, I don't know, very famous brunch place on the Upper West and Upper East Side. And I was like, interesting. And so there's a Sarah Beth there. There's a bunch of art galleries. Like, it's the kind of like walking mall where like the stores are so fancy that like you probably don't buy anything.
That was how I felt at the Dubai Mall, by the way.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, this is fun. This is exciting. Out of my price range, but exciting.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But like but Diriyah, I mean, it's not just going to be a mall. They're building homes. It's going to be an entire like ecosystem. If they can pull it off, which I have no reason to think from what I saw that they won't. I mean, it's certainly all under construction by evidence of the cranes. It'll be amazing.
I got to tell you, and this is, I guess, my jaded naivety. I'm always a bit skeptical of some of these, like, I don't want to call them mall destinations, but of these malls as attractions. And I was impressed by the Dubai Mall, don't get me wrong. But at some point, I'm just like, it's just
how much shopping can you do?
Well, malls are just dead and dying in America.
But
when I go to Dubai, when I go to India, all I see is malls, and they are thriving.
Well, I think some of that's the weather. To be
it's the
fair.
weather.
I mean, they're inside.
Also, yeah, some of it's cultural, and some of it's just me being my American biases to what I find interesting versus what others do. I don't know.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, agreed. Like, the mall is like the most depressing place in like the dead mall, like the, you know, we've all seen those, like, I mean, it almost like looks dystopian, right? Like the abandoned mall. But yeah, these are the opposite of that.
Well, yeah, well, exactly. And that's what's hard to explain to some people when I talk to people back here in the US. I'm like, what'd you do in Dubai? Oh, I went to Dubai Mall. Oh, I mean, I've been to the local Galleria Mall in my neighborhood. It's kind of dead. I'm like, well, that's not what it's like there.
Yeah.
Our partners at Skift, and this was, I will disclose, this was in partnership with Qiddiya, which is this development that's building these theme parks. We did some research, and we asked almost 2,500, Skift, which is my colleagues also on the research side, did a survey of 2,500 global leisure travelers last year. And they asked them, what are the experiences that are worth planning a trip around? Would you plan a trip around kind of X as the primary reason for traveling? They didn't put malls on there, which future research topic, but the number one answer was music festivals, 81%. And the number two answer was theme parks, 78%. So 78% of travelers said they would travel for a theme park. Then it was sport and events, 76%, arts and culture, 72%. So like 2/3 of global travelers find these sort of mega project attractions like what they're doing at Qiddiya interesting. And again, that was work that we did in partnership with Qiddiya, but I still think it was a very statistically significant sample. And I think it's worth considering that data point. And it's also something we looked into. We did our own a Skift research survey now. So now with no partners, just straight Skift editorial. And we asked about futuristic mega projects in the Middle East in a generic term. We said, what do you think? This was in our MENA traveler survey. So we spoke to people in UAE, Morocco, and Saudi Arabia. And 43% of travelers said that these projects gave them excitement and inspiration. Another 27% said it sparked admiration, 18% curiosity, and just 5% skepticism. I would have been a little more skeptical myself, if I'm being entirely honest, but skepticism was low. So I think it's interesting. It's cultural. In this part of the world, in the Middle East, North Africa, in this India part of the world, these are incredible attractions that I think it's an interesting strategy. And we will certainly see, but it seems to be, it's worked in Dubai so far. I think it will work in Saudi as well.
You want to hear another amazing thing? So when I was on the top of the roller coaster, so Qiddiya it's out in the middle of the desert, and it's not just flat desert, it's mountainous desert. And so there are all of these, so you go about 45 minutes outside of Riyadh. We were on a bus, and you start seeing all of these, and I just think desert mountains, all mountains, but desert mountains, I just think they're so beautiful. So when you're at the top of the roller coaster, you have to imagine that it was nighttime when we were there, but like the view was just out of control. I think there was a full, there must have been a full moon, because I could see, and you're just so high up, like the vantage point. It's like something I'd never seen before.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's kind of amazing.
I
think I checked my skepticism at the gates of the theme park.
Yeah, I think as journalists and researchers, you kind of have to be born a little bit skeptic, and I do. There are some skepticisms that I continue to hold around all sorts of issues, and will they ever really see an investment in? And some of this, some of these numbers, some of the stuff, you got to be a little skeptical. Yeah. But I think what I'm hearing from you, and I think it's fair to say, is that like when they work, they work. Well, they won't all work, but when they work, they work. Is that sort of the conclusion?
Yeah. And I think the more people that they can get to go, it's not going to be a hard sell when you come home and you tell, the people that the first people to go are going to be the ambassadors. And I think it'll be like,
Marco Rubio's going to come home and tell his friends
exactly.
about
So for every one person, there's 8 others that are going to go, all of that stuff. But I think that to me, the biggest kind of issue that I see is actually the luxury mid-scale divide. Because it all seems to be so
high end. How can I out of reach? Dare I say? Yeah.
And so that's, even like let's just say I wanted to take my family to Saudi. I don't know. I don't know if I can afford it.
I'm sure the Saudis are thinking about this, and they will have some shorter haul and medium haul destinations where the flight will not be as much a part of the cost. But It's a great point. If they want to do a Fiji or Tahiti development strategy where they just build luxury, they're not going to go from 8 million guests to 100 million guests.
Correct.
They're going to go from 8 million to 10 million, and they'll be the most valuable 10 million people in the world, but they won't get that mass market. So
exactly.
It is an interesting question.
I would say that was the biggest tension that I saw with my eyes there.
Speaking of mass market, Sarah, have you heard of this guy on YouTube called Mr. Beast? Do you know who that
course.
Is?
I have tweens. Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mr. Beast. What about Mr. Beast?
Do you know that he just opened a quote unquote pop-up amusement park in Riyadh? While you were there?
No.
Yeah. Speaking of theme parks, speaking of Saudi, Mr. Beast just did a theme park, Mr. Beast Land, it's a 90-day, 45 or 90-day pop-up in Riyadh.
Maybe my family will be going to Riyadh. My kids, when my kids told me about Mr. Beast 3 years ago, I did not believe them. I told them they were lying to me until I looked them up. Yeah.
And it's crazy. And by the way, I thought it was interesting. I'm just reading Twitter to you now, and to our audience, so stop me. But he got a lot of criticism, if we're being honest, which
what
we
did he
are.
say? Or what did they say? What tell me the Twitter hate that Mr. Beast got.
Well, I mean, it's the standard. It's the standard Saudi stuff. But even the MBS visit to DC has sparked about human rights, about women's rights, about all these things. And, and I think I even see here, it's quite interesting. Someone asked him, what was the reason with the look? He's got all this hate. I mean, it is hate. He got all this hate about Saudi Arabia. Question was, what was the reason with the location? Mr. Beast responded. He said, it's the middle of the world. And because a majority of my audience is outside America and we have a big Middle Eastern fan base, we wanted to give them a chance to participate. And then he got community noted that also he signed a big contract with the Saudi Development Fund.
Yeah. I mean, I immediately just assumed that they were a part of Mr. Beast coming to Riyadh, but because it makes perfect sense to me. Like, again, with the pedal to the metal, of course that it seems very much on brand for everything they're trying to do.
He got a lot of pushback, but I think the point is, to your point about the middle class, I don't think a middle class American can necessarily fly 14 hours to go to Riyadh, to go to Mr. Beast land. But someone in the middle class in the Emirates or in Egypt or in India or in Pakistan
Europe.
or even in Europe could go. And I think that is the market that they're after. And even I know that they've got, it's quite interesting because these intellectual properties that they're developing are so modern, they almost feel like crazy. Like they're doing this Dragon Ball Z land and they're doing a Mr. Beast land. And I'm like, what happened to Disney? What happened to, I don't know.
Disney's coming to Abu Dhabi.
Well, Disney's coming to Abu Dhabi.
That's where Disney's going to be.
It's just so funny. Like it's an anime themed park. It's a YouTuber themed park. I'm not seeing that kind of stuff happen in the US. So I think that's an interesting thing when we think about the global middle class.
Well, you know what they're also doing is they're starting from scratch.
Yeah. Good point.
And so it's like they don't have a lot of the legacy like weight that the rest of the world has, or like contracts they already have, or land, as evidenced by the thousands of cranes, like land that's already taken up by X, Y, and Z. Like they're starting anew. So they sat down and they said, what do we want to do? And the answer is everything. And here's what they're
everything everywhere all at once, like you said. Must be nice. Unlimited money and blank slate must be nice.
There you go.
Let's wrap up this episode. Thank you all for listening. We're doing a winners and losers segment. So let's close with the winners and losers of the week.
Yeah.
I have a loser. Do you have a winner in mind?
I mean, my winner was MBS.
Tell us about that. Just go.
He got everything he wanted when he came to Washington. He did.
And Mr. MBS goes to Washington. The reboot of Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Yeah.
He gets everything.
That was the name of my story, by the way. I was very proud.
Was it?
Yeah. MBS goes to Washington. Yeah. I'm glad you're reading my story, Seth.
I missed it. I'm sorry, Sarah. I like the Mr. Smith goes to Washington reference. So.
Yep.
I have a loser.
Okay.
My loser of the week is actually we should have started the loser. I don't like ending on a negative note. So think of something positive to say to close. But
I'll try.
My loser of the week is Marriott. I've been following. We've covered it on some of our other shows like Good Morning Hospitality, and we've been all over on Skift News. The implosion of this Marriott Sonder deal. Something I've been following very closely. And Sonder's the obvious loser, but once you're bankrupt, you're done. They're out. The loser is Marriott, who has to deal with this and has taken the brand hit and will continue and has pissed off its customers and left people stranded. And I think that is the loser of the week. Is they had this strategy of not buying these companies outright, but signing these like license and partnership agreements. It gave them net unit growth, which their investors wanted to see. It was asset light. They didn't have to actually buy the company. They didn't have to spend all the money for an M&A team. They just got a license. They got the units. They add to Bonvoy. Win, win, win. Except when your partner goes bankrupt, all of a sudden it's your Bonvoy members that are getting screwed by Sonder's bankruptcy, and Marriott has to eat the brand hit, whereas Sonder just gets to file Chapter 7. So my loser of the week is Marriott. Not to say I don't like the company. I'm a big fan of the company. They're just this week's.
Yeah.
They learned a tough lesson this week.
Rough.
It was a tough week for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will end on a happy note. For all of you who are listening, you may very well be listening, if you're an American, on Thanksgiving Day. So we recorded this a little bit before that, but if it is Thanksgiving when you are listening to this, happy gobble gobble, happy Turkey Day for all who celebrate wherever you are in the world. And we are into the holiday season.
We're very thankful for you for listening to and reading Skift. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Hey listeners, this episode is brought to you by EF World Journeys. Today's travelers want more from their vacation. That's why more people are turning to travel professionals to help them explore the world with confidence. For nearly 35 years, EF World Journeys has been the go-to guided experiential travel company for leisure travelers who want to learn more about people, places, and cultures around the world. Its brands EF Ultimate Break, EF Go Ahead Tours, and EF Adventures serve everyone from Gen Z to baby boomers and help tens of thousands of US and Canadian travelers every year explore 400 bucket list destinations. EF World Journeys is one of North America's biggest guided group tour companies, and its expert planned immersive itineraries focus on the big moments and little things that make travel and meeting new people so rewarding. It's experiential travel that goes deeper, where every journey builds a connection, inspires wellness, and fuels a lifelong love of learning. EF World Journeys, guided by experts, driven by curiosity. To learn more, go to efworldjourneys.com.